a lot of my clientele were former competitors who are struggling to find that happy balance of juggling motherhood and having a body that they are comfortable living in, not being ripped to shreds like they were doing competition, but just having a body that they feel confident in. And I don't think there is anything wrong with wanting to look a certain way.
Are you done with being that pregnant or postpartum mom in the gym who is always stuck on the sidelines feeling horrible, saying, "How come no one ever told me this?" Are you ready to finally say no to a mom life filled with excess weight, injury, overwhelm, and fatigue? Then help is here. Welcome to the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast, where we dive deep into the information you need to be the strongest woman in and out of the gym, even if you are a mom. If you are done going through your pregnancy or postpartum fitness journey clueless and unprepared, if you are ready to commit and say yes to being that badass fit mom who is shredded and stronger than before the baby, well, listen up. Because this is where we talk about all of the things your doctor or trainer never told you about, so that you can achieve the body you want and take your athletic strength and performance to the next level. Get ready, because here's your host, Daisy Bravo.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. I've got a perma smile on my face because I just finished having the most hilarious chat with Nathalia Melo. Nathalia has such an amazing resume. In 2012, she won the Bikini Olympia, which is the most prestigious fitness competition in the world, and became the first Brazilian to take the highest spot. Nathalia has also traveled to over 26 countries to provide seminars on topics like health and fitness, as well as training during pregnancy. Nathalia has also been a featured cover girl in magazines like Fitness RX for Women twice, as well as Shape magazine in Germany. And she was also elected as number 5 in Flex magazine as an all-time fitness model. While she was pregnant, she was featured in Cosmopolitan magazine, the Daily Mail, and the Express to share advice on training and staying fit during pregnancy. This gal has basically got a primo resume, and I was excited to bring her on today to talk about nutrition, talk about body shaming, talk about haters in the gym or on social media. We just, you know what? It was just a chat amongst girlfriends. So I really want to thank her for coming on the show. You guys are going to love it. Stick around. You are not going to want to miss this episode with Nathalia Melo.
Also, guys, as a disclaimer, I just want to let you know that there's a couple F-bombs in the mix. So if you have little ones with you, this might not be the best episode to play when you've got them around.
Well, Nathalia, welcome to the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. I am so excited to have you on the show today. I am absolutely obsessed with your Instagram, and that's what I'm like, I gotta have her on the show. You've got the most impressive before and after pregnancy pictures that I've ever seen. And you share so many great knowledge bombs about fitness and nutrition. And it's an honor to have you on the podcast. So before we jump in, I would love for you to share your wild fitness journey and how you went from super shredded Olympia champion to a mom and a coach.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That first, thanks for this amazing intro. I'm like, thank you so much.
There you go. There goes your ego.
I'm like, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I think that's what I want. Not like somebody telling me how great it is, but that what I'm sharing is being heard. And it's being, and like the transformation, it's not about, look, me. It's not about me. It's about the possibilities, and that like it can be done, because I feel like in the especially in the mom space, there is such polarizing views on what a quote unquote mom body should look like, that it gets to a point that is like, wait, hold on. And that like girls my chops a little bit. It's like, oh, the way you look, it's not realistic. Well, hold on a second. I had 2 C-sections, 2 kids, 14 months apart. And so are you telling me that I'm less of a mom because my body, a way that you think a mom's body should look like? And a lot of my clients have accomplished the same thing that I have while they have 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids. So are you telling them that their hard work and commitment to bettering themselves and taking time out of their day to do what is important for them, it's disregarded and it's quote unquote unrealistic because you don't have the work ethic to do it? And I'm not throwing shades at anybody. I mean, you do what you feel like fits around your schedule and what is a priority for you at that specific time and season of life. And that's perfectly okay. My problem is disregarding other people's hard work because that same thing is not a priority for you right now. And so with that being said, and with the transition from winning the Olympian, for you guys who are listening, the Olympia is like the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world. I won that in 2012 and then being published in several magazines, Muscle and Fitness, Hers, Shape magazine. My cover on Muscle and Fitness, Hers was published in, I think, 22 different countries. So like my body was my tool of work. And then I got pregnant and I was like, whoa. So it was very hard on my first pregnancy for me to navigate those changes. And I learned as I went along. But one thing that I did know is because I had a following on social media, I knew that it was my responsibility to share safe information. So I was already a coach, but I wanted to make sure that what I was sharing and what I was doing was not only safe for me and my baby, but it was also safe for those who were looking up to me and looking for advice and guidance on me. So that's when I started to take all the courses that I could to learn a little bit more about my changing body, and that it isn't just about what I can do, but what I should do and the impacts that decisions and movements that I would be doing during pregnancy could have on my long-term health. So, and then I was able to get back in shape after having my first child. And then whenever he was 4.5 months, I found out I was pregnant again.
Oh my gosh, you animal.
Yeah, I might have cried. Anyhow, so yes, my kids are about like 14 months apart.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I had a second C-section in 14 months because my first was a C-section, second one was a C-section. And it always bothered me a little bit. The whole mindset's like, wait until you get married. You're just going to let yourself go. And then you're like, get married and it's like, but wait until you have your first child. That's going to be it. It's going to ruin your body. And then you have your first child and you're like, wait until you have it's almost like people are always like jinxing you. I'm like, oh, people, stop it. Like, stop with the negativity.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
they want to see you fall. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it became a big passion of mine to work with moms, especially coming from a competitive, like the bodybuilding industry that is a very all or nothing mindset. A lot of my clientele were former competitors who are struggling to find that happy balance of juggling motherhood and having a body that they are comfortable living in, not being ripped to shreds like they were doing competition, but just having a body that they feel confident in. And I don't think there is anything wrong with wanting to look a certain way. And people are almost like demonizing that you just you're a mom, you shouldn't want to look good. And so my whole coaching business and my whole philosophy is to teach women to have a sustainable approach to their nutrition, especially for those coming from an extreme mindset from the bodybuilding industry and from other competitive arenas as well that have extreme mindsets around fitness and nutrition.
Hmm. Wow, I have like a million questions based on what you just said there. Oh my God, my head is spinning. You dropped so much information. I don't even know where I want to go next. But and you had just mentioned setting realistic fitness expectations as a mom, being in fitness. And I'd like for you to maybe share some more of your struggles and how they differed. What did you struggle with most when you were training for your Olympia championship? And how does that compare to the struggles you had after your two kids and getting back to it? Did that, I guess it's two different animals, maybe difference in ego. What did those struggles look like for you? How do you set realistic expectations?
Yes, I actually think that this is a great question because nobody ever, like, I have never been asked this question. And I think that one feeds the other. Like, in order for you to win a competition like the Olympia, you have to be resilient AF. You have to have a discipline that is like, I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I've cried on a treadmill because I had to do my cardio and I was hungry and I just wanted to quit. But I had a goal. And I'm not saying that we're going to get to how those two things come back after on the training after having a baby. And training has always been a part of my life. I started going to the gym when I was 14 years old. So being physically active has always been a huge part of my life. So after having kids, I felt lost because one, I didn't recognize the body that I was living in. I looked at myself. Can I curse?
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah, bring it on.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what in the actual fuck? Like, I'm like, we have some work to do here. That's fine. That's fine. One day at a time. That's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. So I think that part, that fitness was such a huge part of me, Nathalia, as an individual. After becoming a mom, that whole routine, as all your listeners know, that routine of like wiping somebody else's ass and feeding somebody and your whole day being around another human being, it starts to become a point that you don't even know who you are anymore. So coming back to training gave me a sense of self. It was almost like I was able to reconnect who I truly am and reinvent a new combination of Nathalias, the wife Nathalia, the mom Nathalia, the business owner Nathalia. It's almost like the training was the binding piece that brought everything together and gave me a sense of self. And back to the discipline and resilience, people always ask, oh, but how did you get in shape? It isn't because people always like to say, oh, because you have amazing, well, you have the best genetics in the world. If you're not willing to put in the work, it's wasted genetics. But I kept on showing up, even on the days that I didn't feel like it. I wasn't motivated every day. I didn't have privileges that other people didn't have. I mean, we moved from Ireland to the United States with our two kids. My son was just under 2 and my daughter 9 months old. And we had no family help. And I was still showing up, not because I'm over motivated, but because I've made that a habit. And I made a commitment to myself to stay disciplined, even when times are tough, because it is a priority for me. And some days I failed greatly. After having my son, right after I had my son, I had to commute for an hour to be able to go to a gym that allowed me to bring him in the car seat. But I was there every day because it was important to me. It was something that I knew that would make me feel better. And some days I felt defeated, but I was resilient enough to keep on showing up.
Wow, that's amazing. I love how you persevered through that. That's a beautiful story. And yeah, and if you want something so badly, then you shouldn't just deny that of yourself just because you're a mom. And I really like how you noticed that you weren't feeling like yourself anymore and you took action as opposed to letting that take over and
Yeah.
using that as an excuse. So,
And yeah, it's not only like the excuses, because I think we're also so conditioned as moms to put everybody and everyone first. But what is failed to be understood is that if I'm not feeling my best, if I'm not feeling my happiest, my most fulfilled self, I'm not going to be able to show up for my kids and family as a better version of myself. So, like, this is a conversation that I even have with my husband all the time. And I'm like, you can't expect me to show up as a mother and as a wife being my best self if I'm not allowed to do the things that make me.
love that. That's such an important message. And I think it gets forgotten and I think it gets ignored. So I appreciate you speaking out on that.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why I love you so much and I'm like addicted to your Instagram is you keep it real, you stand your ground, you express your true self, and you don't take shit from anyone. And I like that. And you call those people out. And I want to talk a little bit more about haters, if that's okay. How do you personally deal with these haters? Maybe how do you help your clients deal with things like mom shaming, especially on social media these days? Do your haters on social media almost fuel you to be better? Do they fuel some sort of mom guilt, or do they set you back?
I think that because of the way that I speak to my audience on my social media, I'm very fortunate, and that I wouldn't say that I have a lot of haters, because like before the problem even arises, I'm already like addressing it. I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna put up with that shit. If this is not for you, you're welcome to leave, and no hard feelings. We're cool. We cool. You go there
Nice.
and I go here, and that this is my space and my platform to speak about the things that I find that would be helpful to other women, and I speak my truth. And I think that whenever you're speaking your truth, nobody can come and try to tell you how you should be feeling, because they are not you.
Mhm.
And I think that the beauty, and that's another thing about the whole social media persona. Like, I don't have a social media persona. I speak my truth. I like to be very straight to the point. So I'm very fortunate when it comes to having haters. And that's one thing that I speak with my clients as well. You can never please everybody. There are always going to be people who don't like what you're doing. And you know what? That's okay. If what you're doing is making you happy, that's what matters. Because if you keep on trying to please everybody, you're just going to be spreading yourself thin, trying to be all the things and ending up not being anything, not even your. So I think that owning who you are and being very self-aware and standing up for the things that you believe in. And I think that now with the social media has enabled people to say things without being slapped in the face. And there is always like, because everything is so fluid and moves so fast on social media, people are always expecting some kind of outrage from you. If anything, something happens, like, where do you stand, what are your things? And I normally like to marinate on things a bit longer, which for me is a big thing because I'm a reactive person. But I've learned that by marinating on things and being able to gather my thoughts and see if that fight's worth picking. I'm very selective on the fights that I pick, especially in the public eye. I avoid politics. I avoid any controversial topics just because I don't feel like they align with my brand. And my political views, in my point of view, are irrelevant to what I'm serving. I try to avoid that at all costs because, one, it keeps my peace of mind. And all the energy that I'm going to be wasting on that, I could be using to transform lives over here.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's important. Do you follow the same message when it comes to things like body shaming women? We've all been there. There's catty bitches everywhere. Either someone's always knocking someone because they're too fat, someone's always knocking someone because of their jeans, and then someone's also knocking you because you're too ripped, you're too shredded, you look like a man. All these crazy bitches out there. How do you deal with, like, how do you help women to say, don't listen to this bullshit, move on?
I like to use a lot of things that happen with me as an example to my audience so they can see like I go through, so they don't feel alone in that journey, because it can feel very lonely. But it's like I can post a picture and somebody will message me saying that I'm too skinny, and then somebody else will message me saying that I look like a man, and then somebody else will say that I have put on too much weight. And I don't know what the hell happened that people now feel entitled to tell other people how they should look like. I mean, I look like whatever the hell I want. And that has always been my mindset. But one thing that grinds my chops is the whole like, okay, we're all body positive, but you cannot be too fit. Wait, what? Like, so hold on a second. If I'm overweight, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody who is overweight, please don't get this wrong way. But I have a problem with the extreme swing of things. That is like, if you're too fit, that's problematic. But if you're like 100 pounds overweight, it's beautiful. Let's celebrate body inclusiveness because this is so amazing. Hold on a second. So we're just inclusive when the person is overweight, but person is fit. We don't include that person. Like, what kind of inclusiveness movement talking about? So I think it's more about finding the happy medium and accepting that people are going to choose to live their lives however they choose to live their lives. You'd be absolutely unacceptable for me to go on somebody's page and be like, oh my God, you look so fat. Right. But somebody feels it is okay to come on my page and be like, you look like a man, you put on too much muscle. The fuck did I ask you? So I have a problem. The other day, somebody in the mummy space was saying that they don't like before and after pictures because they're not body inclusive. I'm like, hold on a second. I get messages every single day of women who are petrified of getting pregnant and ruining their body because there is that constant messaging that once you have a kid, your body is gone. If I have the platform to show women that it is possible to find your happy self after you have kids, I am going to do that. It is my duty to do that. But then there is somebody else saying it there that it's terrible. It sets unrealistic expectations. No, hold on a sec. Sets unrealistic expectations for you because you haven't been able to accomplish, and that's your problem. And that's okay. If that makes you happy, you go, girl. Good for you. But don't come trying to piss on my parade because you haven't been able to do that. And I'm not saying that one is right and the other one is wrong, but I just think that accepting that there is a spectrum of transformations and be okay with that and not just like start outrage over transformation pictures.
People just need crap to complain about.
I know, yeah, like that constant outrage that we were talking about. Like, right. People are always outraged about something.
Yeah, and I think people might be just bored and they want to pick on someone. Hopefully they feel good about their body and they own it. But if they're doing it because it makes them feel better, then that's just disgusting. So let's move the conversation along here. And I really wanted to talk to you about nutrition.
Yeah.
So let's leave these catty bitches aside and move on. And let's talk about, of course, a lot of fitness gains come from the kitchen. I think if you were to pick one, working out and nutrition, at least for me, nutrition is the first to fall, the first to struggle with, because we're doing all the things every day as a mom. I feel like I go into the gym and I leave the gym I'm done. I did my time. But when it comes to nutrition, there's some organization, there's some thought, there's some meal planning, there's shopping, and then you open the fridge and you're like, oh, I'm missing this, I'm missing that,
Yeah.
this is going bad. How do you help moms and women create more sustainable nutrition habits so that we're not falling off, the wagon with every little bump in the road?
There is always the extremes. Like you have to like not eat for 40 hours. Like I was doing a live Q&A on my Instagram before we got live here. This lady was saying that she does intermittent fasting and doesn't eat for 40 hours. I'm like, shit, that sounds terrible. And then you have the other extreme that is like, oh, you should just eat all the things and be happy. And like, why can't we just find that happy medium where you eat a kale salad and drink a glass of wine? I may.
Bring it on. Yeah.
I may.
Okay. All right. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like the whole hardcore mindset. Let's eliminate all carbs and let's never eat sugar again. And let's not eat any processed food again. Hard truth, oatmeal is processed food. So I think that the extreme mindset is driving people to one, confusion and unsustainable approaches to their nutrition, which then leads to the good old yo-yo cycle of weight gain, weight loss. So one of the biggest pillars of my business and my coaching program is to teach women how to create sustainable strategies to their nutrition in a way that they can still enjoy life and have a social life. Because I want to be able, me as a Nathalia, as an individual, I want to be able to go for dinner with my husband, have a glass of wine, come back and put a bikini the next day and be like, things are good. Things are good. And a lot of women feel like they cannot have the glass of wine and feel confident in a bikini because they cannot coexist. So, and a mistake that I see a lot of coaches and fitness professionals making is like, you need to eliminate completely. But then what happens is people can only be compliant with that strategy for so long. People want the ability and the tools to make decisions themselves and empowering them to be educated enough to know what they should and shouldn't be doing at a specific time. That is very liberating for anybody. So that's always a big thing on my strategy, is teaching people how to getting results. Because telling a mom that she can never eat carbs again when bread is jam, it's only gonna work for so long. Like my mom is obsessed with bread, and then she comes to me saying that she's doing a keto diet, and it's like she's lost so much weight, and I'm like, yes, you lost weight because you stopped eating. It's not because keto diet's magic, but because you stopped eating 6 slices of bread throughout the day. Just like, and then she's like, I failed. I went back to eating bread, and now she's not eating 6, she's eating 10 because she's making up for the time. So that all or nothing mindset around food, I think it's incredibly problematic, especially for moms with the busy schedule that we have. So what I say is like, if anybody tells you that, you shouldn't ask why, because chances are nobody can explain why.
Right. Love it. Now, do you help women organize their food? Do you teach them, a new way of eating that's a little bit more non-restrictive? How do you help women start changing their ideals around food?
It really depends where in the journey they are, like, because if it's somebody that has no idea, for example, what calories are, then we have to start them and they have a different path than somebody who is already been tracking macros and tracking calories for some time. So it really depends on where on the journey, regardless of where people are joining in. It's to understand that food is not bad, and no food is bad. The poison is in the amount, in the quantity in which you are consuming said food. Even too much oxygen can be bad for you. Too much water can be bad for you. So the poison is in the amount in which you're consuming. So educating people on that and meeting them where they are And it's a big part of the coaching program. If, like, for example, if somebody comes to me, they're like, I love a keto diet, so I work their macros around more fat because I know it is their preference. So always working with the client in that way, that meeting them where they are and working with what their preferences are until you can gain the trust and give them a small win right out of the gate so they see that you are on the same team. So we use a lot of like macro counting, and some people might need a meal plan. I have a registered dietitian on my team who creates meal plans. And then what I do is I start to give them the tools to be flexible. So for example, for dinner, let's say that your dinner is 400 calories, 50 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbs, and 10 grams of fat. No idea how many calories that would be, but just throw in the numbers. Okay, so get those numbers and create a meal that works for you. If somebody's like, I really like to have a glass of wine a few times a week, okay, I'm going to give you 150 calories a day that you can do whatever you want. On Wednesday and Friday and Saturday, you can have 150 calories worth of wine. Perfectly okay with me. But then on the other days, you can have that of carrots if that floats your boat. Or you can have a little bit more rice in your meal plan. And I think that another mistake that a lot of people have caloric intake on a day-to-day basis, and many people fail. They're like, oh, I'm eating on a calorie deficit, which by default, if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. But I'm eating a calorie deficit and nothing is happening. But the problem is that they're eating like a bird from Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are eating for a family of 15. Then their weekly caloric intake is no longer a deficit. It has become a family of 15 caloric intake.
Surprise. Like, this doesn't work.
Yeah, my coach sucks. Okay.
I love that. Okay. So I get this all the time, and I'm sure you felt this. I felt this. How do you make this all work so that it doesn't take over your whole life? How do you find that balance between fitness, nutrition, and then hanging out with your family and all that work life? How do you make sure that this part does not take up your whole life?
Ooh, that is a great question, because especially coming from the extremes of the competitive world, like
Sure.
whenever I was training for the Olympia, I was training 5-6 hours a day. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a full-time job. I think that my husband is a big part of that. He keeps me very grounded in reminding me of what is important all the time, because I have very much of like a hustle mentality, not hustle like from the financial aspect, but everything that I do, I want to do at the best of my abilities, better if I kill myself kind of thing. And he's like the more, it's fine, everything's going to be fine, take a step back and let's wait. He's very chilled, and I'm very like 100 miles an hour all the time. So I think that my husband keeps me very grounded with seeing what is important and appreciating what is important in life, in preparation and teamwork, and asking for help. Like I ask, if I feel overwhelmed about something, I'll ask my husband to help and jump in. And I think that that's another thing. A lot of people are like, oh, my husband doesn't step in with the kids, or he doesn't quote unquote help with the kids. And I'm like, well, but they're his children too. He's not babysitting, he's parenting. So like, he's not like, quote, helping me clean the house because he lives here too. So I think it's keeping that in mind, that it is teamwork with all the moving pieces of your life.
Nice. I love that. So you have a free, I believe, 5-day shred coming up, and I'd love for you to tell everyone what's involved in that, how they get involved in that, and what they can expect once they sign up for that.
Okay, so first I put together for you guys a nutrition tip PDF, if that's okay, because I knew that we were going to be talking. So it's like
bring
11 nutrition tips for busy moms,
Cool.
which is go.nataliamelofit.com.
Love it.
Nathalia is NATHALIAMELO fit.
Yay.
That's the nutrition tips. And if you follow me on social, which is Nathalia Melo Fit on Instagram, I'll be posting more about the challenge. But I'm super excited for the challenge because it will be like a combination of nutrition and exercise, especially for moms with a limited schedule, to have the best physique they can with the limited time they have. So this will be a 5-day free challenge in a Facebook group, and I'll be going live every day to answer people's questions. We're going to have the page for that up very soon, but because right now we're promoting something else that hasn't been taken up yet. But if you sign up for the nutrition tips, you're going to get the nutrition tips, and you're also going to be notified about the free challenge.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. And I will plug your social media. I'll plug everything that you had mentioned there so that people can go ahead and get that guide, get set, and join your shred there. I'm going to join it. I'm definitely want to be a part of that and experience what that's all about. I can always use a kickstart and something to remotivate me again.
It's funny because a lot of like, I have a coach. I train with a trainer in the gym. And people are like, I'm like, just because I am a trainer, it doesn't mean, one, that I know all the things, and two, that I can't use with an extra external push. And that's something that drives me crazy sometimes when I'm talking. People are like, but I know what I'm doing, and like, I want to do all the things. And I'm like, well, but you're kind of like asking me for advice. So clearly you could use with a little bit of help. I think that if we could overcome that mindset that like you're all the things and you can do all the things, that would benefit, I think, everybody. Like, I have a coach, and I've been working with this coach for almost a year, and it's the best thing ever.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, anyone that is successful in what they do has some sort of coach, some sort of mentor, someone that they can turn to, because sometimes you don't see everything, and they can bring certain things to light. And hey, you're missing this in your routine, what have you. And they push you when you don't feel like getting out of
Like
bed in the morning.
I'm all about asking for help. Like, I have a business coach, I have a fitness coach, I have a therapist. I'm all about like making sure that not only my physical health, my mental health, and all the health possible is taken care of, because that way I can show up the best version of myself for my clients, for my family, for my husband, and for everybody around me.
I love it. That's important. And I don't think enough people do that. And that's a whole other show right there.
I know, I know.
That's a whole rabbit hole right there. Oh my gosh.
The can of
Now,
worms.
right. Awesome. So I don't want to take up your whole day, but before I say goodbye, I always ask a similar version of this question to everyone. Now, if you had to go back in time to your training for Olympia days with kind of the knowledge you have right now, what message would your old self give your young self as a motivation or a, a mantra for moving forward?
Mm. And I just would like to rephrase that, saying that there is nothing in my life that I regret.
Cool.
Absolutely nothing. Because I feel like everything up to now that has happened in my life has brought me to where I am today. And even if it is something that people might look at as a quote bad experience, I look at it as a learning experience. So, I mean, crap, like so many things. Like, I moved from Florida to Ireland to be with my husband after we dated long distance for 2.5 years, sold everything, and off I went. So I'm a big fan of risk taking, but I think that my biggest advice to my younger self would be more like on the coaching aspect. Whenever I was being coached for the Olympia, I feel like I didn't question enough. I had a coach that had me doing 4 hours of cardio a day. That is insane. And I'd never asked, but why? Is that even healthy? So I think that if I could go back in time, you would be more to like question things like that, because ultimately it is my body. And I think that that relationship that I developed with exercising and with eating took me a very long time to overcome. And I see that again and again with a lot of clients that I now work with, that they suffer from that same trauma that I went through. And that's why I feel like a lot of times I'm very relatable to them, because I know how hard it is to overcome that extreme mindset around exercise and food. So if I could go back, it would be to just question the decisions and the strategies that were given to me in regards to my training for competitions, so that I didn't have to go through a healing process to become normal again.
I love that. And that's applicable on so many levels. So that's definitely an amazing take home that all our listeners can head home with that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. I'm going to continue to be a raving fan, follow your Instagram. I am going to, of course, again, link your website, link your nutrition tips PDF that you were speaking about. And I know that my audience is really going to, if they're not already following you, they're going to be right there with me, loving that Instagram. So I want to thank you so much for coming in, giving it to us real. And sometimes you have to drop a few F-bombs to get a little bit deeper, but that's
to make the point, to make them
that's how you got to
so
make your point. Awesome. Thank you so much. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this fun episode with Nathalia. She definitely brought it today. She really dropped some knowledge bombs. And of course, it's always fun to talk about nutrition. But I really love how she jumped into some body image takeaways that certainly we can all utilize and learn from. So again, I'm going to link everything that she talked about in the show notes so that you can join her free shred coming up in May. Thank you so much for joining me today on another episode of the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. Now remember, go subscribe so that you are the first to know as soon as new episodes drop. Also, be sure you don't miss out on your chance to win a free program of your choice from Strong Moms Fitness. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review. Screenshot it before you submit and send it to Daisy at strongmomsfitness.com. Your review helps other people find our show. And as a thank you, once a month, we choose the review that makes us all warm and tingly inside and award that lucky lady a free program of their choice. So do it now. It could be you. See you next time, you badass mom, you.